Okay, so we are back, and as you guys know, on my channel, I have been falling in love with a series I've been calling The Debate. Call it Four Corners, call it Three People. Now we're shrinking it down to two. Mano y mano, 1v1, and I thought there's no better man to bring in to try to test my intellect, to try to go back and forth verbally in a squared circle of debate than my brother from the Breakdown channel. He is none other than FaZe Sensei. What's up, my man?
Ooh, so what is up? You about to get this work, son? son?
So, the debate is simple, FaZe Sensei. And we may not even disagree. I don't even know yet. We didn't talk about this before we came on camera. But the debate is simple. After you and I sat down and discussed Jake Paul's performance against Nate Diaz, the internet's been talking, my man. You've been talking. And all of a sudden, the question has now arisen once again. After that performance, does KSI have more of a shot? And potentially, does KSI beat Jake Paul? I'll let you start.
Let me start off rip. Does KSI beat Jake Paul? Or what are his chances?
Judging off that performance, does he now have more of a shot if you didn't think so before? Or did that performance from Jake lend you to think, okay, this is now more feasible? If you, like I said, if you didn't think so before.
Right off rip, I would say less. I think JJ has less of a chance. But
you think JJ has less of a chance? It's interesting.
Yes, because, again, I was impressed by Jake's performance.
Yep.
The reason I say that is because he went 10 rounds.
Yep.
Right? Nate is the one who pushed for those last 2 rounds.
True.
9 and 10. What fight was this for Jake?
It's number 8. As a pro, number 8.
So he's had 8 pro fights?
He's 7-1.
Okay. So to go into like 10 rounds against Nate Diaz. Again, we say Jake Paul, but if KSI did this or, any other influencer, we would, be on a crazy hype train.
Right.
So just the things that he was doing in there as well, the way that he was able to relocate defensively, because when we saw Jake, a lot of it was just waiting for that overhand, waiting for the overhand. Prior to this fight, we saw some things that just ducking and chucking a lot, waiting for opportunity, a lot of clinching, and just trying to box in spots and hopefully landing that one shot. That's typically what we've seen, and that's been working for him. But this time, we saw the inside work, the uppercuts on the inside, constantly relocating, not getting cut off by Nate in the ring. Then the volume, dude, he freaking outworked Nate Diaz, right? A guy that's only 38, but still. A guy who's done it so many times, and when Jake got into, Nate did good in the rounds that we thought that Jake was going to get tired. Right? So how does he faced that kind of adversity?
So you're saying the boxes that Jake ticked.
Yeah.
Cardio, check. Through adversity, through the points where he would be weak, how would he fare? Check. Out-volumed what we would assume was going to be and maybe wasn't a volume puncher, check.
Right.
10 rounds,
and he fought smart, man. There was times, I remember in the first, second round, even when he hurt Nate, he started to be more efficient. He was extremely efficient, too, with his energy. And we know that JJ tends not to be efficient, right? And that's worked for him because he just goes out there and just swings for the freaking fences.
Right.
So, JJ hasn't had a test like that. He's about to. So I could be feeling a lot different, after the Tommy Fury fight.
We'll revisit this after Tommy,
right?
For sure. Part 2 coming.
But with that being said, I gives us a slight edge, more of an edge to Jake, but I thought it was really close to begin with. So
that's what I was going to ask you.
That's also different. It wasn't lopsided for me.
Okay.
To begin with, so this gives Jake a bit of it more edge for me. But I still got a lot of faith in JJ to do this.
When you say that it gives you more faith, what is the big takeaway? Like you said, there were some things that Jake improved on. What's the big takeaway? The one thing you went, okay, that is something I didn't see from Jake before.
The volume. You remember during the Tommy Fury fight,
Right.
he was always just looking to land that punch,
Right.
instead of punching to do other things.
Right.
He's punching to keep Nate away, to offset him, to also not let Nate to build on his momentum.
Yeah.
Right? Punching to relocate and get different angles. He wasn't always punching his hardest, not throwing power punches all the time. He's punching on the break, punching in space, off his back foot, not just looking for the power shots at all times.
Yeah.
And not clinching a lot either. He wasn't even engaging in the clinch, which was something that he only did a few times. That's
Late
something
in the
that
fight,
Jake,
he got more into the clinch and was,
right, which was smart. He was efficient with it. It wasn't like I'm in danger or I threw my. What did we see before? What I've been talking about Jake for a while. He'll throw his punches and try to exit. He either exits and gets out of there, or he would just clinch. Right, that's his other way out of there. But not this time. Continue to box. His defense looked good too. He's using a little Philly shell in there against the southpaw. Riding with the punches, countering at times, working the inside stuff, the inside game, working to the body. Again, being smart with his shot selection. I thought his shot selection was fantastic in comparison to what he's done in the past. I was just impressed with his. He didn't just like clinch an ugly fight and then just miss, and then land the big one late. That's usually what we get from Jake. It wasn't that. He landed early. He didn't freaking gas out, and then fought a nearly perfect fight to the end.
This is what obviously you thought Jake had a better performance. This is what KSI had to say about Jake's performance, which obviously it's KSI, so he's gonna have a little bit of bias, but let's take a listen.
Yeah.
I feel like he's regressed, if anything. I don't think he did very well against an opponent that hardly jabbed. Like, I think I looked watching the fight, I was like, Nate isn't jabbing at all. He's not setting anything up. Jake wasn't setting anything up. He was just surviving the 10 rounds. It was low output, low IQ. There wasn't. Yeah, I don't really understand what Jake was trying to do. I think he tried going ham in first round, realized he didn't want to gas out because he had 9 more rounds, and then just decided to go at this really slow pace.
He basically said he said kind of the opposite of what you said, funny enough. He said that he thought Jake had regressed and that he was not impressed with his shot selection, that Nate was just a walking target, that, yeah, Jake took some shots off Nate, but the only reason Jake was able to take them was because they weren't powerful. And he watched Jake slow the fight down because, in KSI's words, he was probably afraid he was going to gas in the later rounds, so after the first, he started to fight at a slower pace. His words.
I mean, but that was efficient because he knows who he's fighting.
Right.
In my opinion. Because you're fighting Nate Diaz, dude. This isn't a wrestler.
And by the way, I agree with your assessment of Jake's shot selections. I thought he did really well with his shot selection.
Yeah.
I was a little... God, my voice is going again. To counter some of the stuff you said, I was a little concerned about the one-shot stuff that Jake fell into once again, kind of that we saw with Tommy Fury. Especially he fell in love with the lead hook because he landed it big in the first round and in the fifth.
Right.
Fell in love with it. He would fall in behind it. Fair play. He was falling into clinch where he was saving some energy. And then the shoulder bumps, he would get out and go again. I like that. But I didn't see enough jabbing. I wanted to see a bit more on his jab until the later rounds. And then all of a sudden it came out. I was like, okay, this is what I wanted to see early because I felt when he had Nate hurt in round 1 and even in 5, I felt he swarmed him. But I felt it wasn't an intelligent, like we'd seen Jake before swarming, where he was framed with that jab. Like he was getting rid of the clinch and doing a great job with that, like you'd seen him before, where Nate was like trying to clinch. Nope, get off me. But it wasn't that intelligent jab that I wanted to see. Then that straight right hand, staying on balance, not falling in behind it. I think that's one of the things Jake's really going to have to work on. Maybe, I don't know. I don't even know if it's for KSI, but just for the Tommy Fury rematch, whatever he wants to do to ascend that next level. It's going to have to be at his feet. He's got decent enough feet work, like you were talking about, to be able to circle out, to punch, to then go to range and out, not staying stagnant like he was in the Tommy Fury fight, waiting to pull counter. But setting his feet and throwing is still something I'm waiting to see Jake do, where he's not overthrowing and that right foot's kind of Conor McGregor or MLB pitcher-esque kind of floating off the ground. Yeah, dragging it. I want to see more of that because I think that's where he's able to follow up and be more accurate and be still on balance for the combinations coming forward, right?
Yeah, because he does lean a lot.
Leans into the shots, leans in behind the right hand, still
Right.
working around the guard with the right hand, still kind of falling in love with that overhand shot when I think just like any other power puncher, Deontay Wilder, I'm not comparing the two, but when you still have that one-hitter quitter, and this is the same for JJ, I love it down the middle. I love it. Even if that guard is there.
Right.
Make him break the guard and make that guard tighter, then come around. But if you're just slapping it around, most of the time, we see it with JJ, we see it with Jake, it's going over the head, and you're essentially clubbing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
that makes sense.
If I'm on the other side of the debate here, if I'm on the other side of the conversation, the big thing that's come out with this fight, there's a very polarized thing here. You either thought he's regressed or the fight's gotten closer for Jake and KSI, or like you said, it maybe has gotten Jake has distanced himself a little bit more, taking on new challenges, being able to be in front of the lights 10 rounds, dealing with the pressure, the pace, having to go through the fire, weather the storm, still knocking Nate down, outboxing him, like all the things he did, right?
Yeah, I just want to say I think that part of that is because of the way people view the casual fan views Nate Diaz.
It's a big part of it.
And what they expected him to be.
It's a big part of it. And we tried to tell
people.
Look
at the way he hits mids. Look at the way I'm like, dude, you guys don't understand. And even the way he looks, it seems as though Jake should have done more because he doesn't look the part when he's out there. But, dude, trying to get that guy out of there and trying to do those things against a guy who's a really smart fighter and knows what he's doing,
do you think
way easier said than done, and it's way harder than it looks because it seems like, come on, look, Nate Diaz, dude, he's just
stumbling all over, slapping.
Look at those punches. Like, you don't know what it's like.
No.
Like, look at it. Stephen Thompson always has his hands down. Just hit him in the head. Yeah, bro. You stand in front of him and try to hit him in the head.
Try that. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's one of those things.
Well, and you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, the way Nate fights is very unorthodox. And to be fair, you do have to critique some of the things Nate does. Like, he's not an efficient boxer at all. He's not. Like, the things that he does, and he can get away with it because he's got a crazy gas tank, but he also just walks into range. He just walks in.
Not even just walks. He falls into range.
Yeah, sprinting.
Just falls in.
Like, the high guard was not going to do it. Which also just shows
he high guards and the way he can take punches. Like, the dude is not just tough. He's very effective at taking punches. Like, it's weird. He's got a weird, like, he said it before, he rolls with punches. Like, a guy that does is doing that, is constantly falling into you as you're trying to hit him and you're landing punches on him.
Yeah.
That's tough to fight a guy like that, and a guy that never gets put away.
Now,
mentally, physically.
Outside of the mindset, right? Because we know that KSI's mindset, steel trap, unbreakable, thinks he can beat everybody. We get that. What do you think KSI takes away from that fight to think, I'm going to, because he said it in the interview today with Ariel, he's like, I'm so clear of him. Like, it's not even close now. Do you think it is the fact that Jake got hit so much?
Yeah, and I think JJ looks at it like I can.
Like, if I land that much on you,
right? The
you're
pace
going to sleep.
And also the speed of the pace. Like, he can bring an intensity that Jake hasn't seen. That maybe only person that's really brought it to him is like Tommy Fury. Like a certain level of intensity,
right,
and speed to it. I don't even know about pace, but I think JJ sees
that's significant.
Look at Nathan Diaz. Like, the pace is not there, the pressure's not there, and the pressure is just like arm punches,
right?
And there's not walking into range where
at least
JJ can use
visually.
Angles, agility, speed, his awkwardness, and power, and his gas tank. That is like his X factor, and he sees like if Nate Diaz can put some pressure on him doing it his way, my way should be a lot more effective.
The question I would have then is, what is the sacrifice JJ's going to have to make? Because you're not going to find a fighter alive that fights as fast, as quick, as powerful in round 1 as they do in round 10. And if this is going to be a 10-round fight,
right?
Do you think JJ carries that pace, that gas tank that he's so legendary known for? Do you think he carries it throughout, let's say, 8 rounds?
Not even just carries it, but the thing is, Jake hit Nate a lot. So
And we're not talking about this.
JJ can't get hit like that.
That's what I'm saying. We're not talking about the durability of a guy like Nate Diaz in correlation to normal people.
Correct.
And JJ, no, this is not an offense to JJ. I don't know if there's anybody else that takes that amount of punches and just stands there. I mean, I'm sure there are people, but they're not. They're not in the influencer boxing scene.
And Nate was a smaller guy, but JJ's even more naturally the smaller guy.
Exactly. JJ's not a natural 200.
No.
195.
Right. So that makes a big difference. So he's gonna have to, be like not get. He can't get tagged like that.
It can't be. And I think this is the approach to the Tommy Fury fight. Like, yes, he has to be on his jab, and I know he said, Nate didn't jab, which is a fair point. Like, yes, one of the big problems with Nate losing this fight is he didn't jab, and he didn't box from the outside. I even said it in the outside or after the fight. I think he was a little disappointed in the fact that he didn't box more, that he just relied on what Nate Diaz does, because I think he wanted to show some of those skills that I know he has.
I know the fact that he did not throw his left straight was killing me. He landed it late a couple times. I'm like, it's about time, and he kind of tagged Jake a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that should have been the go-to, is that
outside
punch,
in,
not the slapping hooks,
not inside out. It should have been outside in,
because that straight left is his best punch. Even though he throws it so awkwardly, he's
pow.
But if he lands it, he's pointing
devastating.
At you.
Yeah,
got you, son.
Got him. So, in the moments where Jake looked weak, do you think there are takeaways for KSI? Because there were moments where Jake was having to clinch, like you said, effective gas tank, but also there were moments in those exchanges where Nate would flurry. And we know that KSI will flurry as well, in spurts.
Right.
What do you think are the weaknesses you took away from Jake to say this will help KSI?
I still think he's a little bit, even though he did it better this time, Jake is still a little, when he's like defending, he'll just defend a little bit too long. Like he takes a little while to return.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
And you can see it's a little bit like Conor McGregor-esque. Like when he decides that, you can see when he just switches to like, I'm just going to defend right now, and I don't want to box right now, so I'm just going to kind of cover up and try to circle my way out.
Yep.
And that, like towards the tail end of it, it's almost like he kind of goes, all right, enough.
Yep. And then he throws. Yep.
He throws and tries to get his way out. He did better than he thought he usually does, for sure. But that's still a thing where you got to be careful with a guy who closes the distance like JJ, who isn't afraid to throw that, gazelle hook type thing, where if you keep staying on that back foot and you run into the ropes.
I think Jake would have done better with with a gazelle hook, actually. Like
right.
There were moments for him there, but I think you hit the nail on the head there, because one of the biggest things that we've always said about Jake as a weakness is it is you go, I go.
Correct.
Now, this changed a little bit in the Tommy Fury fight where he was pulling and countering. But there's a portion of Jake, and like you said, where when he's being attacked, he will not attack back. Right?
Yeah.
In the in-between. When he's being,
I was going to say, JJ is the opposite. He's just I go.
And that's the game that KSI is willing to play. And funny enough, KSI actually said this on the MMA Hour today. He goes, Jake won't attack me when I'm attacking him. He's like, he doesn't know how. I heard him say it, and I went,
how do you feel about that, though?
I don't like it. It's tough, though, because he's right, but the game that KSI is willing to play makes me go, if Jake is getting any better at this and catches you, that's the night.
Because Jake has demonstrated from especially since Nate Robinson,
right, that
he can throw power off the back foot.
And if it lands, it's devastating.
And it's when he's deciding. You can tell when Jake he's waiting to counter.
Yeah. So
he's waiting for you to go and isn't afraid to just stay right here and then boom. But then there's times, obviously, where you see that he's just like,
you have to be here for him to do that.
I'm just going to be defensive.
Right.
Right. But often, like when you saw him against Anderson, he's sitting and waiting for Anderson to come into range.
That's what I'm saying.
He's
if
using
you're
Anderson's
gap,
right. He's using your offense to initiate his own offense.
Exactly.
Not all the time, because sometimes he's just defensive.
But when he's mostly just defensive is when you're already there. This is why Tommy was so successful. He couldn't sit and wait on Tommy because Tommy was following things, just jabbing heavy into range. Once he got to range, Jake was like, fuck. Okay, here we go, high guard.
Yeah, and I think it's secondary. I think it's after, and I've talked about this, it's after Jake misses is when he goes straight defense. And I think he did a better job of that against Nate, because when he would miss, he tried to counter, he missed. Now it's just, I don't want to box anymore. Let me either clinch or just get back into range.
Yeah.
Right, by using his defense and circle out. He did that a lot with Anderson. He did a better job with Nate, but still a little bit there. And I think that's where it concerns me a little bit with JJ, because JJ is just offense. You're going to give Jake a lot of chances.
A lot. And I feel like once he sees, because you said Jake will switch it on and off. And sometimes it's a little bit of manipulation too. He might give you that as a look to say, okay, I'm just going to be defensive here and see how you react. Are you going to blitz me? Cool. The next time you do that, you're catching one.
Yeah, JJ has to blitz second.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like JJ has his best chance, where Jake, and this is where I would get so frustrated watching like Anderson or even like Woodley when I was saying, make him pay.
Yep.
Because it would make him miss, right? And
He
Anderson
falls
get out
in.
the way. And then, they'd either clinch with him, or they wouldn't try to blitz and close the gap. They would just try to slowly walk into range. And Jake was able to step back, throw a heavy shot, because they would get out the way and try to stalk again. Get out the way, then try to stalk again with arm punches, and they'd be running into stuff. Where I feel like JJ can make you miss, and then
But
it's
when has
my
he done
turn,
that,
son.
though? That's the thing. Is I ask you, has JJ ever been a big time counterpuncher like that? He initiates a lot of offense.
It's initiate a lot of offense. He has to be able to
Because there's
be on his toes. I like the style that he works, though. It does kind of lean to that, where you want to make him miss and blitz.
if he's bladed like that and he's able to start playing a little counterpunch,
if he makes his miss and he angles and then blitzes and gets Jake to be defensive and just it does his thing, that's where his benefit. But the thing that does worry me is JJ's all offense.
Wants to go first, wants to put it on you, wants to jab, and here comes the freaking hammer, right? So let's say this. What? Obviously, we're going to wait for this Tommy Fury fight, but
yeah.
What is the next progression for JJ? It was tough to see how much he really, what we got from the Joe Fournier fight. It was tough to see. Is it defensively he needs to to say, okay, he's going to beat Jake? Is it something more defensively he needs to work?
For
transition
sure.
between
it's
two?
Correct. It's defense, because JJ's all offense, bro.
Yeah.
He's always been all offense. That's why we love watching him fight. That's also why he's been so successful, because he bets on his offense.
Yeah.
He just, there's no, it's like the punches come his way, and he's just like they're flies. He's just like, get out of the way because I want to punch you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's just trying to get through the muck.
But at a certain
so
point,
we can land punches. It's not going to work.
you're going to run into someone that's better than that, and they're going to hurt you.
And you got to be able to play that game.
And even and I don't even like to bring this up because I know how people are going to look at it. If we go back to the Joe Fournier fight, I watched it again the other day, and yes, JJ hits him with a big one, and that was going to be the beginning of the end, I feel. But before that, Joe was starting to catch timing a bit.
Yeah.
Started to land his jab a bit. Catches JJ with a right hand. And you have to wonder, when JJ has to reset his momentum and someone starts to catch his timing and the big right hand isn't working, what's left in the tank? What else do you have?
That's the other thing I was going to say, the variety, the what else. What else can you do? And that has a lot to do with defense, man. The higher you get in, especially combat sports, I've always said this. I was always told this, that everyone knows how to throw a punch. Everyone knows how to throw a kick. It's the defense that sets people apart. You know what I'm saying? If I were to go box an amateur and go box a pro, the amateur's going to hit hard, the pro's going to hit hard, but the biggest difference, that pro's going to be way harder to hit, dog. He's going to be so much harder to hit, because I've been in there, I've sparred with different people, and a lot of people, they hit hard.
Yeah.
Obviously pros hit a little bit harder, but the crazy thing is is trying to find the guy, and like the way that they make me miss, and like, dude, the traps that they set.
Effortless too.
Right. And obviously I'm not saying that Jake is at that level, but it's clear that for JJ that's been a thing. He hasn't been exposed of that yet.
Only really once. Only one time that Logan set a trap for him and he walked onto an uppercut.
Correct. And it was like when he gets hit because he's so all offense, it's like
it's big.
It's like a collision, dude. Car crash.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
that
like,
momentum meets momentum in the middle, and you're basically you're doubling up the severity of that shot, you know?
Yeah.
Now when you go into a KSI and Tommy Fury fight, what will be a confidence booster here for you, for JJ? And I shouldn't even phrase it like this because it makes it seem like JJ has no shot to beat Jake.
Right. No.
And that's not the case.
It can't be because this is what I've been saying. Jake has gotten away with things because people don't put it on him.
Right.
Because of the lack of volume and pressure.
But here's the question I'll ask you.
They let him settle a lot. And JJ is dangerous for JJ, but JJ is definitely not going to let you settle, bro. You're going to have to knock him out. He
has pressure. He has pace, but JJ hasn't been a big volume puncher. Right? Even in the Logan fight.
Right. But Logan, it's just the size difference with Logan. Trying to close the gap is crazy.
Jake's a big guy too now, though.
He is. He was trying to.
He's trying to get there. He's swinging, you know.
The pressure's there, but not able to.
My question is JJ going to have a Nate Diaz or Tommy Fury-esque level of output here? And if that's the case, again, we go back to this, does he carry that through 10 rounds? Because if he slows down and he still tries to put that pressure on.
If someone could do it, it's JJ, bro. That's what I'm saying.
But I agree with you that he can do it, but what I'm saying is the reason Nate was so effective, the reason Tommy was so effective, Tommy was a little bit better technically. He ate shots, right? Jake put one on him. It hurt him.
Yep.
But Tommy kind of shook it off. Okay, cool.
A couple times.
Same with Nate. Nate got hit with big ones. Still had somewhat, level. I would say Jake threw a little bit more and landed a little bit more, but Nate was throwing. At some point, there's diminishing returns behind fighting at that level, at that pace. And KSI not doing it before, at least Nate did it in MMA, and Tommy is he's a well-experienced boxer. When the pace doesn't stop, when the pressure doesn't stop, but the volume does, that's the danger zone. And that's what I worry about if you're looking at a guy like KSI, because I don't think his pace will stop.
Sure.
I don't think his pressure will stop. I think his volume will deteriorate over round.
It's again, if I was a bet man, I'm still betting on Jake. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like that, but I definitely agree. That's like a huge danger zone. There's a few things that are, there's more things. There's more danger spots for JJ than for Jake.
So how does JJ capitalize here, right? So that's what I was going to ask about the Tommy Fury thing. When we watch this Tommy Fury fight in a couple months, what do you want to see from JJ that you're like, he's got it?
He's got to use his, like, this is so,
because he doesn't have to win this fight. Let's gotta get him
right. But he got to use his attributes, the things that are good for him. He's got to make them his strengths all around. Like if you're an elusive, you're energetic, you're agile, right, and pace. You have to use that for your offense and your defense. You have to use that when it comes to the way that you set traps, that the way that you feint, the way that you defend things, the way you turn your defense into offense. It has to be that too. You can't just let it all those attributes only affect your offense.
Yeah. And
then make it become a weakness. You know what I'm saying? Because he leans on that so much on his offense because it's his strengths. The explosiveness, the agility, and the power and the awkwardness. But you got to now use that, the awkwardness, the explosiveness, right? The pace, the energy. You got to use that to set traps, to feint, to pull counter, to catch and shoot. You know what I'm saying? You got to use those things, those attributes in in that way. Whereas you can't just lean into it. You're not Deontay Wilder. You know what I'm saying, bro? There's only one of those guys.
Do you feel JJ would be better suited to take some of to dial back the pace a bit and dial back the pressure a bit and be more of an explosive offensive counterpuncher? Like, sure, you're in a guy's face, but it's not uncontrollable pedal to the metal pace to where you can hold on to that explosivity and you can when needed, quick twitch fire.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, no. It's like honestly a good example is Wonder Boy.
Yeah,
like Wonder Boy, his the footwork, the angles, right? That's not just for his offense.
Yep.
He uses that for his defense. Speed, right? The things that he doesn't like when he's not on offense, he's not walking around, stalking. Nothing changes for him.
Yeah.
When he's sliding away from punches, he's using angles for strikes. He's using angles for defense. You know what I'm saying? This is management for offense. He's using it for defense.
Yeah.
You know, the way that he defends strikes is the variety is the same as his offense. Like, so the things that, you know, everything works together and it leans to his strengths. You know, like Deontay Wilder is an example that he's just looking for the right hand. This is his power shot. There's not much defense. It's kind of like get the arms in the way. And then, you know what I mean? He doesn't use the fact that he's
6'9",
you know,
6'7", whatever.
6'7", agile, is really fast on his
feet. Has
feet.
a pretty decent jab when he decides to throw it.
Right, that elusiveness. He doesn't try to use it for all aspects of the game.
Doesn't frame.
You know?
Yeah.
Correct. So like JJ's got to be able to not change the way that he like when he's doing defense. He doesn't got to do all that. He doesn't have to change like his style.
Have to go high guard and just like staying straight and
right. No. Like just doesn't. Oh, you got to keep his hands up now.
Right.
It's not that. Doesn't have to do that. Like Wonder Boy doesn't see. Wonder Boy doesn't go. Oh, tight guard.
Yeah.
I need a shell defense and start checking kicks.
Right.
He doesn't. He catches the kicks with his thighs and then he uses it into offense. Yeah. Right. So he leans into his strengths, but it allows him to be a good defensive fighter.
It allows him to minimize
counter
weaknesses.
fighter. Correct. And JJ just can't go, all right, I use my explosiveness and my agility and my energy for offense, so I'm just going to use it for my offense. How do you take that and make it work for your defense too?
Do you put any stock into the talk about willpower when we talk about this thing? Because, I'm only bringing these up because we talk about it a lot, about what the difference in these fights are, but when it comes to conversation between JJ and Jake, a lot of the conversation around JJ is his willpower won't let him be denied. You just can't explain it, but he will win. And I got to be honest, I don't put that much into that when it comes to this fight. Like, you can outwill somebody.
This fight, you're saying in general, or are you saying this fight?
I'm talking about him and Jake.
Okay, I didn't know if you meant like willpower in general.
No, of course, yeah. But the conversation has been around this fight that JJ's just going to will himself to victory. Jake might be the better boxer. He might be more experienced. He might, he has all this stuff, but JJ's just got that willpower. When he decides to do something, he just does it. And I'm hearing both these guys talk, and they won't admit it, especially JJ won't admit it, but they are so similar in the way they approach fighting.
Yeah.
They both do it to prove everyone wrong. Like, you hear JJ talk today on Ariel Helwani about how he's legacy and he wants to prove everybody he can do it. This is what Jake says about every single fight. They are fighting for the same reason. And they have the same work. I mean, I would love to go and see JJ in camp because I know he has this ridiculous work ethic. I've seen Jake. He has a ridiculous work ethic as well. I've talked to Leon about both guys. Leon seems to think that JJ is just built different. And I don't know that I can agree with him.
He's more of a loose cannon for sure. Like, when you talk, like, willpower, generally speaking, right, is what got him, the difference between him and Logan is the willingness to fight that night. Like, how far are you willing to go?
Or the willingness to, the typical saying, are you willing to die in there?
Yeah. Like JJ is a little bit more, he's definitely more out there than Logan, right? And I think JJ is more than Logan.
Yeah.
But I think JJ's even more so because you've seen, like, the Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas situations where on that night in their situation,
it was just that moment he got him. But I think you could argue that JJ could get Logan over and over at that time period because of both where they were.
No, of course. But in terms of, exactly, like mentally, like, for example, if Jake gets hurt and JJ gets hurt, like, they're both dangerous, but I think I feel like Jake maybe does he get like, okay, I need a circle. Might need to, like, okay, let me reset here. Not like in a bad way, like whatever.
What you're supposed to do, right?
Right. Where JJ like, all right, he just is gonna turn up even if he's hurt. You know what I mean? Type.
Well, I mean,
Just almost like
Logan hurt him. And in the
Right.
rest of that round, JJ was like, "Let me just chill for a sec," and that was
Yeah,
Logan's
he was
big
chill,
opportunity.
but he was still dogging it out, and Logan was like, but he's still there. You know what I'm saying?
He put
was
the
hurt.
fear of God in Logan in the previous 3 rounds, where Logan was
Correct.
like, "I'm not snapping on this guy because he might throw something big," and he just knocked him down the round before.
Yeah,
But he was hurt and he was circling.
because like JJ's stumbling, being like,
Yeah,
my head.
yeah, and fair play to him. He was there, and then, like you said, in round 5, he comes back like a bat out of hell. So it's
Right.
like
Nothing. There's like a nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I don't care. There's a level of carelessness
yeah,
that's a bit scary.
yeah,
You know, and that part of I think that the will is not just the will to win, but it's the willingness, the risk take.
the
willingness-
unapologetic.
Right.
I will not lose more so than I will win type deal.
Yeah, it's not. I will not lose. It's just I'm not going out
Like that. Yeah.
gun shy. You know what I'm saying?
facts.
I will go out on my shield. And there's a.
The problem is we haven't seen
I've
Jake
heard people
hurt.
talk about it.
You know?
Right. That's what I'm saying. If Jake gets hurt, like if JJ gets hurt,
And that's a big factor too. Like we've seen JJ get hurt and we know how he responds. How does Jake respond to getting hurt?
we've seen Jake with. I know it's early on with Deji though, like bloody nose, breathing,
I mean,
kind of
Tyron
eyes
Woodley hit with a
big.
big one and he circled on him. You know, he survived it and then he came back and started boxing, but it wasn't like I mean,
Right.
he did what he was supposed to do. He survived.
Correct.
And he jabbed his way through that round and then he got back on his bike and then the next round he
I'm
came
not
back and
saying
started
Jake
boxing.
doesn't have willpower.
Not at all.
I think he
But
does
we
a
just
lot.
need
but
to we need to
JJ's
establish
been-
this.
like that's like a big factor for him, and especially against Jake, I think it turns up
Do you
because
think
there's more at stake for him. You know, he gets
100%.
crazier. The more at stake, the more which is weird. The more like I think careless he may be.
Do you think there's any chance that Jake is able to break KSI? Like, is the only way that
No,
obviously he can
he's
outbox him, but is the only
out
way
on
that
the
KSI
canvas.
goes out is out on the canvas?
Yep. He
Like, Jake can win a decision for sure and just, better boxing, whatever, but you're not going to see him get hit with a big one, get rocked, drop to a knee, and then all of a sudden gun shy, and there's the TKO.
no the whole like
referee waves
gun
it off.
shy. No, he fights like dudes, like mentally going like in a street fight.
Yeah.
Where like this is personal. I don't care if I'm getting tagged. I'm gonna come right back at you. You know what I mean? Like that like almost a little bit of that like your best friend or like your big brother type. I don't care. I'm gonna freaking just try to. I'm going
Yeah.
for it, dude. Like
Yeah.
they're holding your back like this and I'm just swinging. Dude.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can't hit them, but the one thing you're not gonna do
Is
is
not
like
try.
let up.
Is not
Exactly.
try.
You're not gonna
Exactly.
not let up. And there's a I don't know. There's an edge like that. I've always
you
talked
think
we
that
talked about
KSI
it. As a fighter, I'm like, dudes that have like nothing to lose, and
Or
the
they
guys
put
that
that
are like
belief in something higher, too. Those guys are
correct,
dangerous,
and
bro.
they're like because like they should be worried about my right hand, but they aren't.
Yeah.
That means that I have to be ready because if not, they're just they're gonna move when they shouldn't move.
Right. They're going to do
They're
things
gonna
that
go
you don't
when they're gonna
anticipate,
go
yeah.
when exactly they're gonna go when they shouldn't go
Yeah.
because they don't see
They
the
don't
caution.
care. They don't know. They're just whatever.
They don't see the red tape. They don't
They
see
literally
any yellow
see
lights.
red. I see red, bro. I just see red, bro. That's it. So do
The
you
cop's
think
like,
that
"Hey, guys, you got to slow down. And
he just runs through it?
just,
Do you think that Jake, in any way, his confidence can be shaken? In the way
Jake's
that,
confidence?
in the same way I asked about KSI, if KSI hits him with a big one, drops him, do you think could you see Jake internally?
Only because I think Jake's smart, and he's getting smarter, and I think that he thinks probably going to think he shouldn't be hurt by someone like JJ. He shouldn't. He's going to be the A side. He's probably going to be he's going to be the favorite, right?
Mm.
You know, like he versus someone like Tommy. There's almost like that. I got nothing to lose. This guy has the more experience.
Right.
But now, I don't want this guy to get one over on me.
I can 100% say a KSI and Jake fight, massive pressure on Jake there.
Right, because if he gets tagged and
From
he gets
people
put
like
down,
me and you too, and everybody's saying for as long, and himself, to be fair, that he's far better. It's not even close.
Right.
And
'cause
that's
if
a massive
if
factor,
JJ
man.
gets knocked down, he's just like,
Well, that's what, he didn't want to see it, but that's what happened,
yeah, get back up. Here we go. Can
Yeah.
I make the count? Let's fight
But
again.
if Jake goes down,
Where
the
Jake's like,
entire
I'm not
room
supposed to
goes,
get. Yeah, I'm not supposed to get knocked down.
or
And then
cheers, depending on where they're at. But yeah, like everybody goes like this. Oh, buddy. Like you kind of maybe thought it would happen, but now that it's happening, Jake's in big trouble. You know
And
what I mean?
JJ there now he's seen blood.
He's a finisher now. Like especially like you said, when he saw Temper go down and the way he did, and it was like smooth to him. Now he's seen it. Now he's confident in it. That's a guy that would know how to finish in that position.
But again, when you asked me this thing in the beginning, do I give a slighter edge to Jake? Even though we're saying all this, I said yes because I saw a guy who looked Nate Diaz in the damn face, came out smiling in freaking round 10, bouncing on his toes.
more fresh than I'd seen him in the last 2 rounds. I was like, what? Who is this?
Yeah. So looked a man dead in his eyes who was was a BMF at one time. You know what I'm saying? We're talking certified
And to be
straight
fair,
gangster in the
in this
ring when it
fight,
comes to
Jake
throwing
was
hands,
favored,
too.
and there was a lot of pressure on Jake to be able to beat this old
And there was some adversity late.
MMA.
The Nate Diaz
so
adversity late.
when
Pressure,
we're talking
there
about
was that.
mentality. I don't know if it is that different, and this is why I said this to begin with. Both guys
No,
have
not-
willpower.
not
Both guys
that
are hard
different.
workers. You just
Does it
think
play a factor? Yes, but not that different. No.
because of that pressure, because of the fact that Jake is, like you said, getting smarter in the sport. There is that level.
And
of,
he's
I
done it,
shouldn't be
dude.
hit by you the way that you think you can hit me.
Right.
So when we come down to it with this fight, and I ask you this just because we have a very casual audience that looks at this fight, and then we have like a hardcore audience. Like the casual audience, I would say, is more, especially on combat sports casual, is more Jake's going to win this. The hardcore influencer audience, the very much engaged with the content, is definitely turning here. Absolutely. And that just shows you kind of the difference in who's tuned into what.
Yep.
Do you think the turning is I am seeing what I want to see and what I hope is going to happen, or are they listening to people are they being manipulated in one way or the other? Like, is the audience understanding of what they're seeing is my question.
And when you just to confirm this, in turning, you think leaning towards
KSI.
Yeah.
That's been the consensus, I would say, and that's, again, the very hardcore side of this. When I say that, I mean the people that I see on Twitter daily talking about influencer boxing.
I
People
think
in our
that's
comment sections that are very much engaged with it. Even in our last video about Jake and Nate, people were like, Jake's performance was ass, all this.
Yeah, no, I think that's the credit that they did not give to Nate Diaz. The way they were talking about him hitting pads, the way they were talking about.
And where do you think that comes from, though? That's my question.
Maybe it's just the the people that don't know Nate Diaz.
I think it's a little bit of that. I also think it's Nate's a
also-
grappler.
He also falls into that category. He's the retired MMA guy.
But that's what I'm saying. The category is made up by
On the surface.
right.
Yeah.
Is made up by the perception of who he is. Is there now a perception of Jake in the same way based off of that last performance? Is now Jake being perceived as potentially, I mean, we've seen it on videos, regressing, stagnant?
Yeah, because I think people thought he was going to people were like, you don't know me. People were like, oh, he's going to knock him out. Dude, it's going to be nothing. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're crazy.
Right.
So I
Like,
think
is that a
the
factor in people, like do you think that's a little bit overblown?
Yep.
That's
I
the
think
factor of people going, KSI now wins. Look what he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're looking at what they expected from Nate. They thought he was going to be worse, and the thing is, even when you not the expectation, when you watch him, he looks bad.
It's not good. It does not look.
But you're not in
technically-
there with him.
Technically, I'm sitting next to the former IBF middleweight champion of the world, and he is going, none of this is right from Nate. None of it. It doesn't. He's not
Right.
boxing correctly. He's not in the right positions. His hands are in the wrong spot. He's not throwing the right punches. But somehow, he's making this thing a fight.
But he's done forever, and he's really good at it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have done that. They have their own style of fighting.
But
This
here's the
man's been living
question
that
then.
way.
The question then becomes, if Nate can do that to Jake, this is why I ask about the perception thing. Do people get more excited because of the key words here? Unorthodox, doesn't do what he's supposed to, isn't a great boxer. Is that why the excitement builds? Because they see in Nate what potentially KSI is, but maybe he's younger.
Yeah, I think this is super weird because I think like one of the consensus was that originally that Jake was going to beat KSI like right out, and I didn't think that. I thought it was closer because of those things that you just said.
Right.
So I thought it was closer than what people thought.
Yep.
I thought JJ had a way better chance than most people thought. Then I'm like, oh, I think here, this is a little bit more to Jake, but it's still close. But a little bit more to Jake. And then people are like, no, they flip it like by 1. I'm like,
I
guys,
know. But the reason, and this is why I think you're thinking the way you thought about it, the way we talked about it is perfect to and I people are going to say, oh, we're riding. But it's the reason that you build more confidence in what Jake does better than KSI is because if you thought the fight was close or you thought there were things that KSI did well that were going to cause Jake problems, and maybe they still will, Nate had some of those statistics and some of those attributes, and Jake was able to handle it.
Right, yeah, he is able to answer those things. Again, people just don't know. Like the awkwardness and the way he looks, I understand it, but like timing and IQ, when Nate's doing that funny stuff where he's circling out and it looks like he's just walking away, like that's all part of how he fights. The pressure, when he turned on late, like this, trying to put the gas on at the right time.
2 more rounds and that fight's interesting.
And that's what I said. I'm like, this is just a fight that Nate doesn't. This runs out of time for Nate.
Runs out of time.
If they keep fighting, Nate beats him.
But the thing, I will say this too, though, the big X factor, and it's always the X factor that I know that KSI sees in the Tommy Fury fight. He's basically come out and said the reason he thinks he beats Tommy is he saw how much Tommy got hit by Jake, and that JJ's just going to hit him harder. The one thing people are taking away from this is that Nate had pillow hands and JJ doesn't. JJ hits Jake like that, it's over. And again, I think it's a variable thing when you talk about power and how it relates to the fight itself. Because JJ can knock Jake out with one shot, for sure. But you don't go A to D. B and C have to happen for D to even be there.
And JJ can't get hit like that, and he also doesn't have the high guard that Nate has.
That's what I'm saying.
Nate's trying to walk him down. People are like, oh, they're making fun of Nate because he's running at Jake. He's running at Jake with his hands up and still blocking a lot of the shots.
JJ
by him.
JJ is going to have to be better at getting to the spot. It isn't a matter of JJ can or can't knock him out. He can. It's about getting to that point that people are missing. That's the missing gap that everyone is kind of overlooking, is that you assume he's going to land that shot because he's in position to land it. That's the biggest assumption to make about these fights.
Right.
That he's not going to intercept. He's not going to be intercepted.
Correct.
The big one.
Even with temper, right? He had trouble in the beginning with the stance, and then he would tell me.
Yeah.
And then he had to switch it up.
Yeah, he was trying to blitz Tommy, and Tommy caught him with a couple jabs and, threw him off a little bit, and had at one point had him square in front of him. And Tommy had his dead to rights, but just can't land the shot, or can't land one that'll hurt him.
Yeah.
So that is the big takeaway, I think, is that if you want to say that JJ's going to beat Jake, you're going to have to convince me that he's going to be able to make point A to point B to point C to point D happen without all the things that come with it. Defending himself from a counterattack and or being able to enter range safely and exit range safely, where, like we've said, Jake is now starting to put together how to work in and out of clinch uninterrupted.
Yeah.
That is the biggest point, and I think that's the part where the disconnect happens, because they see the big shot in their head. And when I say they, I mean people that just say I don't mean people that debate this and genuinely think, okay, yes, KSI can win if he does this. If you lay it out and say KSI can win if he does use his jab to get to range, if he does use those explosive angles, if he does push Jake into a place where now he is just high guard and he's just being defensive, like sometimes he falls into, and then can capitalize. Right. But if you're just going to tell me it just takes one, that's not enough for me.
Yeah, it's never usually, unless you're Deontay Wilder, it doesn't work.
And I think that's what people think JJ is for our scene. Deontay Wilder. I think that may be what he thinks he is for our scene.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it worked on Tommy and Fournier and Swarms and Pineda. But
and maybe
Logan,
that's why he thinks that.
He didn't even get Logan out of there, you know?
But maybe that's why he thinks that. I mean, he was on his way to getting Joe out, but the elbow, it's tough. But that's maybe why he thinks that. Maybe it is just that superior confidence based off of, one, I'm sure what he's doing in training. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But two, the results, regardless of who it is in front of him, and granted, you have to take that into account. But to him, when he's demolishing all these guys, that maybe reinforces, I'm just going to do this to everyone. And that's what worries me.
But let me ask you, I know we were talking about it, but to ask you directly, do you think that Jake, his performance, makes you feel better or worse about him winning or vice versa?
I think there are moments that give you confidence if you're a KSI fan, like watching Jake. And again, the problem is, though, it's in the later rounds that KSI's never been to. Mm-hmm. Watching him struggle a bit with navigating, now's time for me to clinch. Because if I don't, this turns into a firefight that I'm not ready at this moment for.
Yeah.
Like, Nate doesn't give a shit. Like, it's that same mentality. That's why I'm saying, I'm like, oh, okay, this could be a problem. Because Nate has that, fuck it, I'm going. You better be ready for this, bitch. Like, here I come, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever. That I looked at and went, okay, I can see that. I can see that as an argument, but that has to happen for me in rounds 2 or 3. 1, 2, or 3 for JJ.
Mm-hmm.
Because late in the fight, I don't know if you still have that after trying and trying and trying. Like, you better get him early. So this performance for me, in the totality of it, no, it didn't make me think JJ had moved. The goalpost didn't move for me. I would just say maybe the uprights got a little more slim if certain things happen. Outside of that, I thought, like you said, there were moments where I went, Jake is doing things I haven't seen him do.
Correct.
This is good. When he started going to Nate's body inside, off his jab, like framing with his jab, as here comes the high guard walking in, and he's going frame with the jab, and just as Nate is pushing on that jab and trying to make his way, he drops the jab, goes 2 to the body, shoulder bump, circles out. I was like, okay, now we're seeing stuff we haven't seen from him.
Right, and he seemed to...
And it was like he was making that choice to do it. It wasn't like he was...
Right, as I say, he was reading things.
Yeah.
He was reading the fight
It wasn't
Nate.
a reactionary, I need to scramble to get out of here. This was, I am doing this because,
he was extremely comfortable in
here's
there as
another
well.
thing too, Sensei. I was hearing, we're in his red corner, and I'm hearing third chambers. Jab when he starts walking in with that high guard, jab the motherfucker. Jab him. And then when he gets close, then you dig to the body and get out. Sure as fuck, the next round I see him doing it.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen Jake make those in-fight adjustments like that. Implement it in real time. That's what made me go, okay.
So, you said the goalpost doesn't move, because I had them a little bit closer. But where did you have it?
I had JJ coming into the fight like a wild man. And if not for landing, and I still kind of in the same spot, if not for landing something that rocks the foundation, and like you said, this is why I asked that question about Jake's mentality, like what happens when you really get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Does that, if not for that moment, where he rocks the foundation and Jake has to reassess and really has to put himself in a position to deal with the fact that he was not supposed to get caught by this guy. This guy's not supposed to be on your level. Where JJ then builds momentum and swarms like the killer he can be.
Mm-hmm.
I had him pretty much running away with that fight.
Yeah.
As the rounds go on, I felt the boxing skill will show. And as JJ gets more desperate, he gets more dangerous, but it also gets more dangerous for him.
Yeah, the risk goes up.
Yeah. Like, he'll get dangerous, but it's gonna be open
It's just
season.
dangerous.
It's just the word dangerous.
He's more dangerous.
Yeah.
It's just everything has got more dangerous.
What I'll say now is when I say it got a little, the goalpost got a little slimmer. You went from college goalpost to the NFL. I would say is that if JJ can fluster Jake with volume, the key word for me is volume. If you're able to put volume on Jake and get his feet a little crossed up and make him stand a little more upright and give him a little bit more than he bargained for early, and it's got to be continuous.
Yeah.
That's where the X factor for me lies, because pace is one thing. Jake's handled pace. Pressure, he's now handled from Tyron, from Anderson, from Gibb, from Nate Diaz. He handled it 4 straight times now. And you could argue that Nate gave him a little more volume than even Tommy gave him. It wasn't as effective, but he gave him volume.
For sure. And it was 10 rounds.
Over 10 rounds. And Tommy gave him volume. The 2 times he's shown a little bit on defensively to be like, okay, I'm discombobulated here, which we talked about is what you need to do to him. Continue to follow up. I don't know that I don't know that KSI has that. But if he does, that'll be the big X factor for me. How do you get from point A to point? I keep saying D. I don't know why I chose that letter, but how do you get to the big D, Sensei? How do you get to the capital D?
He said, I don't know why I keep.
Apparently, you're experienced in this, so you tell me how you get from point A to capital D.
Listen.
But you get what I'm saying. How do you get from A to Z and navigate that mind? I changed it. Navigate that minefield. If JJ's able to do that and tiptoeing his Jordans around all that, then maybe I can see it. But if not, and you're just thinking he's going to jump from A to Z, I'm going to jump into range, do the Humpty Hump, land on 2 feet, and throw a big right hand, it's not going to go well, man. You're going to leave on your face. It's going to happen. That's it.
Man, it's talking crazy.
Is that not what happens?
Humpty Dumpty, landed on your face. What's going on?
Is that not what? Honestly, is that not what happens to everybody that tries to just run into range? Like, what? I'm not saying that he's the same person.
I 100% agree. This is why I said he's got to be able to take those attributes and turn them into defense. Because if he can turn it into defense and feints and make Jake miss, I know he can try to make him pay. I know he's willing to pull the trigger to make him pay.
Then we got a different fight on our hands.
If he makes Jake miss, okay, because he has the attributes to do it.
He has
the footwork. He has the style to do it.
He has the footwork forward, Sensei. Does he have the footwork this way? I've seen him do it forward. We've all seen him go forward. Can he find a way to set his feet going backward?
Yeah, but the bladed stance, he doesn't have to strike while going backwards. He's got to be able to move.
But he tried it. He tried it with Fournier, and fair play to him. It didn't land, but the idea was correct. So if he can compound on it, right? Because that was Fournier coming to clinch. He's trying to throw that right hand off the back foot.
Yep.
Just missed it. If we see more of that isn't as frantic and wild and just fucking get off me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is right now. Like,
he's got to get him in camp with Wonder Boy. He's got to get in camp with Wonder Boy.
Honestly, though, because MVP is in that camp, but he needs more time with him, if that's the case.
Nah, but MVP is a little different.
Nah, but MVP's great off his back foot, too, though.
No, I'm not talking about the back foot. Wonder Boy, I'm talking about
keeping
you move back to move forward. It's back. Yeah, it's back to forward.
Yeah.
Not back striking while going back or
bang bang
like
forward.
MVP will do,
bang
like
forward.
stall and then blitz.
Yeah.
Because MVP's much more of the sport karate where he blitzes from far distance. Where Wonder Boy inches his way in, tap, and then as soon as you when you attack, angle out to come back in. Angle out, strike, angle out.
Boom.
Yeah,
bang. Yeah.
So he's moving out, but then to come back in. He's not moving out and then striking off the back foot. He does a little bit of that, but it at his best is that he's bouncing in range where he makes you miss, and as he's making you miss, when he's landing, literally the landing of it, he's using the momentum of the land back to go back in.
All right. Last question
to,
here.
To counter.
Last question. Well, two of them, I guess. Is Jake and KSI the end of influencer boxing as we know it?
No.
Explain.
It might be the end for JJ. The end of the KSI era.
Mm-hmm.
But if Jake is still in the game,
you think Jake can carry it by himself?
Long enough to get other people in the game.
I keep hearing that, but it's been 5 years, man.
Well, there's other people in the game. You know what I'm saying?
There's other people, but there's not the big three.
No, because they're still there.
I get it, but who's gonna
you can't get
make
the new
choice?
guys until they're gone. Like when Floyd was still in the game, you can't get another Floyd until he's out.
But here's the thing: you can absolutely do that in our scene. You can absolutely get a Speed or a KSI or like what you're suggesting is that people are making their names off of influencer boxing.
Yeah, but maybe that opens up when
you could still have these guys as main events right now. Right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There'll be somebody.
5 years.
There'll be somebody.
PewDiePie said, "No, I'm good."
Somebody.
Mr. B said, "Nah, I'm good."
But maybe when KSI exits, there'll be someone else willing to step up and take the throne.
You would think they would want to be inspired to do it, right? Like they would be intrigued by the fact that KSI is already doing it. If KSI is not doing it, and let's see, Jake is probably going to continue, but let's say Logan's not doing it, who gets inspired to do it? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's got to be. There's always a beef. You never know.
I'm not, and that's the
beef
thing.
Beef could be started tomorrow
for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Like, let's settle it, and
That's
then that's how it is.
For
Still
sure.
Weller, KSI, Logan
But
Paul,
you can't
KSI.
live off one fight at a time. You know what I mean?
Jake Paul, KSI.
Come around once a year for the big brouhaha between X and Y. Like I don't think it survives like that. You do have to have what Misfits is doing or what MVP is doing, and I wonder when KSI decides to hang it up, how much longer does Misfits go? Because they can't. That's the cash cow, buddy. Like,
well, the thing is, you say 5 years, but we haven't been able to close the chapter, so it's hard to open up a new one when you're still waiting for this fight.
This,
you know what I'm saying?
I compare this though to the MCU, man, and I know that people don't like that I do that, but I just see it that way. The end game, in my opinion, is Jake and KSI. And after end game, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna close that chapter and start a new one. How has that gone for Marvel so far?
Yeah, not great.
And it's because the big characters just got used. The people, the casuals knew the Avengers. Ain't nobody fucking knows Moon Knight, dog.
Yeah, I know, but I know the new guys, but it could. You never know. KSI, listen, when influencer boxing started.
Did you watch WandaVision? You were super into it?
No. But listen.
You're telling me you didn't watch Miss Marvel?
No.
You weren't around for that one? You weren't ready for that banger? She-Hulk?
No.
No, I know you watched She-Hulk. Come on.
No, dude.
Okay.
But listen, I'm not saying we don't know where it's going to come from. But KSI.
Doesn't that make it worse?
No, when he decided to fight Joe Weller, when that thing, the spontaneity can be part of it too. Maybe we're trying to force it. I'm saying it's going to look at, there's people that come out the scene. I know there's new names, but I'm talking about people who are already names because that's what you're talking about, not people being built.
You have to. You can't.
It's the people. Yeah. Of course, that's where KSI was. KSI was already a name.
All of them.
Right? Jake and Logan were already names, right? And their names got propelled by the game, right? By the YouTube boxing game. But JJ wasn't in shape. He didn't know how to punch. He was really bad.
That's the point. We got.
So you might be thinking like, oh, which guy can do it? We don't know.
Okay, so it's Aiden Ross.
I think there's a lot. Yeah, Aiden Ross. Exactly.
He's next.
This guy,
Dude, imagine 5
This
years
is
down
what
the
I'm
line,
saying,
Aiden's
though.
hand.
Yeah. Bro, we see that. Other guys.
Thanks.
Dude, Jake Paul's out here fighting ADS. So
Could happen. Could happen.
So
I just don't know who's going to take that risk, right? There's so much
But
money
that's
in
the
the
thing.
game now.
We're trying to. It's so hard to predict because it's like, who could be that person? No one thought JJ and Jake Paul, these guys were going to do that, dude.
I know.
Nobody.
But you're going to have to find somebody that's that level of crazy. That money does not matter to them. That they have this ingrained. Because let's be honest, the influencer scene now, it's bullshit. There's not a lot of people that do things for legacy and that do things to step outside of the box. Everyone is in their bag. I'm doing it for a bag. Kick throwing bags. Twitch throwing bags. YouTube. You see it. 100 mil here. 30 mil there. You know what I'm saying? Who's going to be that one to step out? Prediction time. Who's going to be that one that steps out? Do something for legacy. Who's going to be that person?
Speed could be that guy.
Could see that.
Speed could
versus.
definitely be that guy.
Gotta have another one.
Don't even know. We don't know yet.
Gotta have another
Speed
one.
could be that guy.
Speed versus. That's what I'm saying. Speed could be one. I just don't know.
Speed could definitely be that guy.
You could say Sneeko, but does anyone? I don't know if he's that level like that anymore.
But that's the thing. We do.
It
You
just
know
takes
the
one.
age we live in. It takes one, and we don't even know who that person could be. Who was Speed and Sneeko when JJ started, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Now Sneeko was still big then, but Speed just came out of nowhere. Yeah, true.
You know, someone can come out of nowhere, and it's the chance of it happening now is way higher because it happened when no one was doing it, and now that
I felt like that was part of it, to be the first, to take that risk.
Yeah, but like yes, it was the risk, but you saw these guys obviously are pioneers, so they wanted to pioneer it, but it was because they got a little bit of influence because of Joe Weller and Theo Baker, right? So the idea was already set. So now that the path is already set and they know that they can do something big, this is why someone like, what was his name? Freaking Andrew Tate was even like considering.
Yeah.
There's more people considering it, more people willing to do it, and it's easier now to do it than ever. And I think people are waiting for KSI and Jake. I feel like when that chapter closes, there are going to be more people willing to, maybe I could be the
You'll step up?
You know what I'm saying? People saying that, they're going to be like, you know what?
I thought you meant you specifically. I was like, all right, cool.
No. I think it's going to open the door a bit where people will be like, maybe this is a chance for me not just to be a spectator. I just think that there's a way better chance than
maybe the breakdown takes it over. Maybe we just, you know what I'm saying?
And when people see what Jake Paul has done and Logan has done, to completely transform everything, dude, because of like Logan without influencer boxing, Jake without influencer boxing.
Career's done.
JJ was also in the dark for like 2 years, bro, before.
Logan was done.
I know. And JJ was black screen on socials.
Yeah.
Socials done. Like the music, like this is before they did like the diss tracks. Like he was.
Yeah.
Like look what it's done for the Sidemen too. I don't know, dude. I just think the chapter ends, and I have faith that it doesn't. I don't even know who it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, it's been way too effective.
Facts.
And too lit just to.
All right, last one. We'll end it on this. Jake and KSI fight 10 times. How many times does Jake win? How many times does KSI win?
How many rounds?
It's got to be 10. Now that Jake's fought it, he can't go backward. KSI's doing 8 with Tommy.
Oh, okay. He's doing 8 with Tommy.
Yeah.
It's so hard because I haven't.
I don't actually know that. I shouldn't say that. I don't know that. Let's assume that let's assume that KSI is doing 8 with Tommy.
What did he do with? What did Jake do with Tommy?
8.
Okay. Okay. I just gotta assume that JJ's gonna fight well, whether he wins or loses with Tommy.
Yeah, we're assuming that JJ comes out of his performance and it doesn't devalue where he's at right now in the talks of how a Jake and KSI, like he doesn't get flatlined.
Like it's so hard. I'm thinking like 6.5 to 3.5. I
was
don't
gonna
want to say.
I was gonna say 7-3.
I don't want to say 7-3, and I'm like 6-4.
6-4 feels a little too close for me right now.
Right, so I'm like literally, I'm like, can I say 6.5?
6.5. He wins half of one fight and then loses half of the other one.
Draw. Yes,
A draw.
One's a draw.
One's a draw. Okay, so you're going 6-3
That's
and a draw.
exact. Yep.
You don't need.
I can't, like 7-3 just doesn't feel right.
I'll say 7-3. And those three that JJ wins, how does he win?
Wow, what a hater, Wade.
I know,
dude.
right?
Just,
Here we go.
Oh my.
Just that one fight. I'm canceled. And those, let's do this. In the seven fights that Jake wins, does he have more chance? Like, does he not? Is there more KOs there? Is there more decisions there?
More KOs. Because I think if JJ doesn't get KO'd, the way JJ fights, if he doesn't get KO'd, he's freaking hard to deal with, dog.
Now I'll say this on the other side. How does JJ win all three of the ones he wins?
Oh man. Oh yeah, the 3.5.
Yeah, sorry, the 3.5.
Well, one has to be a draw, so.
You
Unless
know,
it's a no contest, elbow, the half.
That's the one. That's the elbows the half, no contest. I think he KOs Jake all three times.
Yeah, KO or TKO. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Stoppage.
genuinely think he has to right now.
Yeah, stoppage.
Right now, if JJ improves some things, I could see a decision. But right now, I think he has to. And I know that's crazy because he decisioned Logan, but that completely different fight to me. I think he has to stop him.
Dang. JJ goes out there just freaking unanimous decision. 10 rounds.
10 rounds, just dominant, dog. Just boxing clinic. Fucking Marcus of Queensberry.
You want to talk about an end of an
7-0.
era? It's gonna be end of an era.
That's us, baby. We out. It could happen, man. It's the game. It's just us giving what we think is gonna happen.
And
That's all I
Dylan
can-
Dennis gets freaking
Dylan Dennis.
knocked out in 1 second.
Dylan Dennis flatlines Logan in 2 seconds. Calls
No,
out
no,
KSI.
other way.
No,
'Cause
you said you didn't think
No, you said that Dylan had a better chance.
he does, but I'm saying I want to see the two underdogs, and then all of a sudden, the powers that be. But there it is, man. A great conversation. The debate, episode 4. I think we're gonna be doing more of these, man. We're gonna bring some more guests in. I do want to do these in person, but it's not always applicable. So I think we want to bring some more people in. It'll be super fun. Trying to get Keemstar. Been trying to get Keemstar for a while, so I think he might be the next one. We'll see. But listen, comment section. Now it's time to do what you do. Tell us how stupid we are and how awful these debates were and how terrible our takes are. You do it all the time, so let me know down below.
Yep.
And answer the question. After Jake's performance with Nate Diaz, who wins? KSI, Jake Paul. I don't have those answers. Neither does Sensei, but guess we'll find out.